Hello and welcome to the Madecast, the official podcast of the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, a series of lectures on video game history as part of the Made's ongoing effort to preserve history through teaching and displaying playable exhibits of rare games and consoles.
While life in the time of COVID has forced us to close our doors, the support of people like you has allowed us to continue to bring history to you through lectures and interviews like the one you'll hear in a few minutes. I'm Chin.
I'm Red.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Miles. This week, Alex catches up with Darren Gladstone, another CGW alum. They talked about his history with tech, his move from games journalism into the games industry, games in general, and what he's up to now. This was an interesting interview. I really enjoyed just sort of their meat and potatoes talk of what games are fun, why he's playing the games he's playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like it's kind of like what we do at the end of the show, but in longer form. And then it's interesting just hearing more from that realm of like computer games reporting and like tech reporting and everything like that. It's such an interesting sight to see because they got to see everything firsthand and check everything out.
Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, we've got a little bit of news to get through today. So first up, New World, Amazon's MMO, long in development, long anticipated. It finally launched and immediately hit 700,000 players.
Yes.
All of the servers they have allowed for a maximum of 4,600 something players. So obviously, some people got left behind, and that led to about 200-hour queue times.
It's okay, guys. Just hang on. You're still waiting. You'll be able to get on. Just hang on.
Yeah, just wait a week.
Yeah, it's fine.
Which is what
just keep it
200
on.
hours is.
I would say the New World doesn't have my interest on it, but it's just like whenever there's a new MMO coming out to the market in these days, and no matter what kind of game it is, it would just get flooded by people.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the market is really in a hunger for a good MMO that really fits the need instead of those we have now.
There needs to be because there just needs to be something new that like kind of captures everybody's enjoyment. I don't know if this one is going to be that game, but
the chosen one.
Yes, but it looks really interesting. It looks pretty fun. I might check it out later. In other news, Netflix has acquired Night School Studio, the studio behind Oxenfree and Afterparty. So they are going to be the speculation going around is that there's probably going to be some sort of like Stranger Things game through Netflix, and then apparently you'll be able to the Netflix games will be included into the subscription, so then it'll be mainly streaming based only. So those are some interesting things to talk about in the future, like just about if games are subscription based and streaming only versus having the ability to download it. So
looks like the future is streaming games.
Apparently. Well, if it's going to be streaming games, then they should, upgrade my internet. Or just upgrade the nation's internet a lot better, because it's lacking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But fiber optics, here we come. Soon enough. And then don't get poisoned by the 5G. Sorry. But so next news, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 likened to Empire Strikes Back. What's this one about? I didn't see this headline.
In the Marvel podcast, the creative vice president, Bill Rosenman, talked about the sequel being compared to The Empire Strikes Back. So he's basically talking how the sequel to the first Marvel Spider-Man will be a bit darker in tone.
Okay. Okay. So is he trying to... Then the third one is going to bring it up? We'll see.
I mean, there's been a bit of speculation, and again, take this all with a grain of salt because nothing's written in stone.
Yeah.
That they left Venom out of the first one because they didn't want to pack the villains too much. But now, they have another game, so they're probably going to bring, one of Spider-Man's most iconic villains in to have a larger role. So
That would be really
here's
fun.
hoping we see some Venom.
Yeah.
Because
It's gonna
always
be,
fun.
it's also, I'm also really hoping that, I think I'm hoping it will also be a PS5 exclusive. I mean, the Miles Morales was an exclusive, so that should be hopefully a good hint for the future, making it just exclusive to the new console. Because, that would be able to use everything to its benefit if they did that, but we'll see. Well, we're going to have another little segment of news after the interview. We're going to cover the Nintendo Direct totally. Well, not totally, but what we found interesting about it. But before we get into that, here is Alex and Darren Gladstone.
And we are here with Darren Gladstone. How you doing, Darren?
Doing good, Alexander.
Great to have you here on the podcast. We've been going through all my old coworkers, old CGW people, but your career began in New York, didn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was in business. I was a gamer for life, but I was a business reporter in New York, and I guess at some point along the way, I just said, "Oh, wait a second! I can actually make a living writing about stuff I really love." And I just wound up in San Francisco on a vacation, and while I was there, I kind of just grabbed a magazine. Magazines, Dead Trees. I picked up a magazine I was working for at the time, kind of bookmarked dog-eared pages, bought a suit, interviewed for a job at Ziff Davis, and fast forward 2 weeks, I had a job.
Yeah, I remember you coming down to the cubicles. You had an iPack and you were emulating Donkey Kong on it or something. I was blown away.
Oh yeah. It was kind of basically my whole shtick, I guess, was like gadgetry and seeing where I can get away with like watching like Simpsons videos back then, and yeah, playing just random games on stuff. But yeah,
So gadgets, huh? Like
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the memorable ones across that time? Covering that area.
Oh Christ, man, that's hard. Like there's so many. At one point I served as the mobile beat reporter for like PC Week back in the day. So like the Palm 7 and like Palm Pilots and all these crazy things, the original MP3 players, like the Diamond Rio stuff. I'm going way back, but there's so many. I think it's just funny seeing the evolution jumps that became more and more dramatic, and then the lead up to 2007. I can go on that stuff all day, really.
Right. 2007 being when the iPhone came out, gadgets died.
Yeah, because like, why have a million gadgets? It was really funny because I used to have like 1,000 gadgets I would shove in a pack, like I was like a Sherpa going up the mountains with like all these gadgets, and then it's like, oh, I have a phone now that does all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now you read Computer Gaming World since issue 1, right?
That is true. Well, yes, 1 or technically probably issue 2. It was a long time ago, but it was kind of funny. Like like I said, I was a gamer for life, and my first gaming PC, I guess, was an Apple II. So I was in it for a while, and it was kind of funny. Like I never thought. It's like you always say, what are these weird goals you could put out there for yourself? And one of them was, man, it'd be really cool to work at CGW one day, and it happened. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. Who gave me the keys to the car? This is ridiculous. I shouldn't I don't belong here, but I was there and I was having a great time.
And then you pivoted from the magazine. You moved into the actual industry, worked at companies and hardware manufacturers.
Well, yeah. So I was at CGW for a while. Part of the whole one-up empire. I wrote for like EGM, OPM, all the alphabet letter magazines out there. It was great. It was a great group of guys. It was just an amazing time to be a part of it. And it was then I transitioned. I went to PC World in. I get a history lesson here. I'm trying to go back through my my memory banks. It was about 2007, thereabouts, 2008. Anyway, so around then I went up back to PC. I went to PC World, and after that, after about a year or 2 years, I basically said, you know what? It's time to kind of take a walk from journalism, do something different. And so I started working for game companies, hardware companies. First up, first big noticeable thing, I started working with HP. I was like their official blogger for consumer products. And it was a great time. It was basically, I got a chance to play with all their toys and tell their stories and give people tips on how to use things like that.
Was there anything that you learned moving to the other side? You were hardware, covering the actual hardware, to moving to the side of the people who are selling the hardware. What was your biggest surprise? What was the biggest difference there?
Well, I think the amount of iterations and the piles of silicon that just happen to sit in the offices. I mean, you sit there and you think, oh yeah, we're going to review this product, and I would have done this, this, and this with it. And when you actually look at, and I think one of the more eye-opening moments was when I was looking at a product, in the design phase, and you see a room full of like different versions of this same damn laptop. And it's not even like they're close. It's like wildly different things. Like, and we're talking about stuff like, what if we put a touch screen in? And remember, this is like when I'm talking about this is 2010 or something for, and all these things. So it's like for a good sized computer. But yeah, so I did that for a couple years, and we lived through some really weird times at HP. So there was I was there for the touchpad, which was the tablet running on WebOS that they had this huge promotional campaign. It was around for, I think, a week or two before they decided to scrub it. And that was a time.
Yeah, that runs televisions now.
Yeah. They made it open source and just kind of, I think, is it LG that uses it now?
I'm unaware, but I do recognize it in my logs.
But that came out from the Palm team, and I was actually an early fan of that stuff. But,
oh yeah.
But yeah, so like after a lot of things happening at HP, I kind of went back to my gaming roots that I loved so much. There was an opportunity at 2K to help tell the stories of the games and in marketing content. So I kind of. Man, I feel like I'm just blabbering here. But
No, you're fine. That's the old office up in the airplane hangars, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So
funny story. Apparently, the first in those airplane hangars, the opening scene from Indiana Jones and
Temple
of Doom. Yes. So one of the hangars there is where like Indiana Jones goes, "Nice try, Lao She," or whatever, and like
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and he gets in the plane, and it's Dan Aykroyd is in that scene.
That's
for
right.
some weird reason.
Yeah.
But it's right outside of those offices.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was there for a few years, and it was actually a great time. I was able to work with such a wide variety of brands, like Borderlands, BioShock, the Mafia games, XCOM, Civ. It was crazy. I mean, like the fact that, like, again, it was like I had that same feeling like when I was at CGW. I was like, wait a second, you're letting me actually do things with the fiction of these games? Are you nuts?
So now that you have sort of straddled every aspect, like the reviewing side, the news side, the manufacturing side, and then watching them make the bacon, as it were, has it changed your perception of games? Are there any games maybe that like you appreciate more having seen the whole aspect of the way the sausage is made?
Well, I'd say honestly, it gives you a profound respect for every part of the process and all the people involved. Just the coordination of this huge machine of people that it depends on the size of of course, on smaller indie teams, it's everyone wearing multiple hats and you're just trying to just in a room, throwing stuff at each other and getting things done. But on the bigger projects, especially huge AAA games, the number of things that are interconnected and if one thing breaks down, all the other things kind of follow. And so every time that I see someone griping online about, oh man, just release the game already, you talked about it 2 years ago, I'm like, dude, it's like you can't, if a part of the foundation of a building needs to be repaired, you got to go back and fix that before you can actually finish, nailing up the walls or painting them or whatever. So it's that's and I mean that kind of translates across any big endeavor, but it's just it's like an understanding that a lot of people don't have.
Exactly. No, that's something we really try to push at the museum, that these things don't just spring forward from people's heads.
I wish it did. Holy cow.
They didn't. Yeah, they are made at great pain and great, effort. They are not, it's not fun making a game. It's a lot of work. That's why I pay you to do it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to say, granted, my side of it, I'm not the guy, bless you. I'm not one of those guys that's actually crunching the numbers and can suck at math, but yes, there's a lot of work involved, but it's also probably some of the most, fulfilling, satisfying work I've ever had a chance to do. And all the walks of, and it's kind of weird. I've pivoted so many times over the years and I've seen all these different parts of the business and different businesses. And I keep coming back to this thing where the actual creation process is what inspires me every day. And it's because at one point, before COVID just slapped everything down, I kept going back to this one thought in my head. Like every year I go to GDC, I'd walk out inspired. And so I kept, and then I started asking myself more and more toward the end of, I think that's 2018 or so, thereabouts, 2018, 2019. I'm like, why am I only waiting for that feeling once a year or twice a year when I go to a show and catch up with all my pals who are telling me about all the cool things they're doing? So I kind of went with it and once again pivoted and, to where I'm kind of the direction I've been going these days, which is more on the creation process.
Indeed. And you mentioned things like world building. I mean, that's fun. I don't mean to imply that the whole process is,
Yeah, no. Honestly, I feel like, I can't speak for the, engineers, but, there's got to be excitement in like working with a new engine and seeing how far you can push it for the artists who can, kind of envisioning some brand new world that has never been conceived before, or something simple in a demade, pixelized graphics thing. Like this week alone, there's games coming out. I'm like downloading a ton of indie stuff that I love. So
yeah. What are you playing now?
Oh, geez. I think the question would be, what are you not playing now? Because I would, okay. So I'm just like, so this past week alone, so I just downloaded, was it Flynn Son of Crimson from Humble Games, Lost in Random from EA. I also am playing Deathloop and Life is Strange True Colors, which is just really well done. I mean, great storytelling. Like the characters in it are so well developed.
Yeah, Life is Strange is really good at that. So often you'll play a game and you feel like the characters are sort of cardboard or chopped out of something. Absolutely not in Life is Strange. They are real people.
Yep, definitely feels real. But I'm not going to sit here and do reviews because no one's paying me for that anymore.
No.
But I mean, like that's just like tip of the iceberg kind of stuff.
I mean, is there anything that like inspires you, or games that you see and maybe admire now, whereas before you just thought they were fun?
The funny thing is, I always did that. I mean, I wasn't fanboyism, but I definitely I appreciated the vision of what people were trying to attain and how close they came to that vision. I mean, I would have to I almost forgot. I mean, I'm also a huge VR head. So they just dropped so Tales from the Galaxy's Edge on the Quest. They just released a new DLC. So it's like I've never been to Galaxy's Edge in either of the parks. So my VR visits are the closest I'm getting for now, and it's like it's doing the job. I'm having fun with it. But it's not like putting expectations on anything. It's just kind of seeing what the developers were trying to accomplish and how close they got to that goal. That's what I really enjoy.
I think that's a spirit you really need to enjoy older PC and older computer and console games, especially.
Right. And I the funny thing is, so there's a lot of, as we go to these worlds, these games with higher graphics fidelity and better audio and stuff like that, I'm not saying that games are better then or now or whatever. They're great games then and now. But the thing I always, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, and that's something you never heard before, but I always enjoy the fact that like the older games, you had to fill in so many of the pixel blanks with your imagination, and that's kind of what I enjoyed. Like, sometimes people ask me what's my favorite game of all time, and I'm hard pressed to look beyond, say, Auto Duel and Sundog: The Frozen Legacy.
Oh, Sundog, spectacular game.
But then I also can say the original Steel Battalion. If they rebooted that, I still have the controllers. And then, like I said, Life is Strange, the Telltale games. Like I was always inspired by like what the team did when they left LucasArts to go in and create that whole genre.
Mm-hmm. No, Wolf Among Us is spectacular. I mean, just that and Life is Strange are absolutely just phenomenal, top quality, modern interpretations of sort of that adventure genre, right? But
yeah.
You also mentioned Steel Battalion. That's just an amazing game right there. But Sundog, nobody knows Sundog, man. That was such a great game. There's aspects of that game that are still not topped today. I mean, that's basically Star Citizen. Like everything they wanted in Star Citizen.
No, I mean, like that kind of game. I love that game. It was open world, multiple game genres layered on top of each other, multiple systems at play. The fact that you're in the middle of a space battle, space pirates knock out your system, you run down to your engineering room to create shunts and put pieces together to connect your weapons back up, and then run back up to the platform to keep shooting. That was nuts.
Absolutely. And then you have that little car in your space, in your spaceship.
Right.
You can drive across the planet to a non-space dock area, pick up supplies and bring it back. You get mugged. talk to the bartenders. The stuff in that game is amazing.
Yeah, and that, it's like you could see that it's, and the funny, and it's basically it's like knowing your roots. Like you see that stuff, and then you look at games like Mass Effect, and you're like, oh, I get it. And you look at other, like, Star Citizen, which if it ever comes out. But you get the idea. Yeah, so it's like, I appreciate games from different eras for what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those games from that specific era, again, like you said, you have to fill things in. Even though Sundog is so expansive and has so much stuff you could do, you're a little white stick figure, and there's absolutely no animation. You're just dragging him across.
And that's actually, and that's why I love so many of the indie games out now. Is they feel like they're channeling those roots for me. Like it's like FTL or Into the Breach. Those are just top of my head. But like every week there's some crazy random game that I just pull out of nowhere and play for an hour or two.
So since you mentioned VR, I wanted to see what you thought of Alex.
Alex was great. Although I got to say, and I'm a total wuss when it comes to VR horror. So like so when you have like head crabs jumping at you in 3D, I'm like, oh hell no. So for example, when Resident Evil 7 came out with the VR option to play it, I walk into the house, I come into my first encounter, I'm like, I'm out, I'm done. And but yeah, it's like I will fully admit, you put me in like put a 2D screen between me and horror, and I'm okay. But when you start putting me in the scene, I start having I start going in the fetal position, I guess.
Here's what I will say about Alex is that
Alex is great though. Yeah,
the feel of the guns and the feel of the gravity gun and the feel of the weapons was spectacular. Like the reloading and the handling of them, I thought was just magnificent. That was the thing that I thought stood.
Well, I think one thing that is kind of like what I really enjoyed, because so many VR games are just shooting galleries. This one, to me, there's certainly shooting gallery elements to it, but it's also telling the story, and it was as typical for a Valve game, a Half-Life game. There's a little that exploration, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I love being able to like dip into a corner and seeing the details, and like the parts that help fill in the blanks without actually going overboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've always been great at pacing.
Yeah.
So what's going on now? What are you up to that you can talk about? What do you want to chat about?
Oh, geez. Okay. So I know we talked about this before the call, but I am really terrible at self-promotion. I'm like the worst at self-promotion. I enjoy working behind the scenes. So I guess the one thing I can say right now is a lot of times I'm working behind the scenes with other publishers. I'm helping create content for like art books or strategy guides, or I'm the voice of social channels for different brands.
How do these people find you?
Well, it's just, I guess that's one of the nice things about the industry. You work around, you get to meet enough people, you work with enough people, and you just kind of like, you reach out and there's good opportunities, or there's not, and you just kind of hang out. It was a lot easier, obviously, pre-COVID, where you go to GDC or E3 and hang out at the JW or the Fairmont or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you don't have like a corporate website I can direct you to? No.
Well, I have my own personal. I have a portfolio site of just that I'm in desperate need of updating. It's just, there's that. But yeah, it's kind of funny. I'd say the past year has been the luckiest for me. I've been able to. I don't know. It's kind of weird when you're locked in your own thoughts in your own house for a year, you start having it out. You run out of excuses, and you start kind of finding those creative outlets. Let me see. I designed a board game with a buddy. I wrote a book about. I started writing a book. Actually, I wrote a book. I'm doing a first or second draft of it now. I've been helping out a bunch of. I'm helping design an indie Metroidvania game.
That's the one that I'm excited about. I'm a Metroidvania nut.
Oh, okay. Well, so that one, it's in development. We actually, so it's called oops, I hit the mic. It's called Revenant's Reach. So we have limited information out there right now, but we've done so basically we were working on a vertical slice, and we realized as we got that slice completed, we're like, okay, there's one part we need to just really kind of focus in on and improve. And we have, but it's a little too early to talk about that. I'm working on a VR kaiju game called Blockbuster.
That sounds like
fun. That's also in development, and it's coming along pretty nicely. We haven't really showed too much of it to the world yet, but I'm helping those guys. They're a great group of guys and girls there.
So I mean, like knocking down buildings with your VR controllers, right? That sounds like
Just make sure you
like
don't. Yeah, exactly. Just make sure you don't punch the wall.
But yeah, actually, that sounds like that could be a real problem with that.
Yeah. And other than that, I really can't talk. I mean, I don't know if I can talk too much about it. So I'm just gonna err on the side of caution right now.
No, that's fine.
But there's actually I'm working with a game publisher as well, and it's I ask me again.
Okay.
Ask me again in a couple weeks, and I'll actually be able to talk more about that probably.
We'll have you back on when you're ready to promote your book or board game or the kaiju game, whichever one.
Like I said, honestly, I am so terrible at self promotion. It's like I'm the worst. Like I like I said, I like the work speak for itself kind of thing. You know.
I think that's called humility.
No, it's just called. I don't know what it's called.
Well, before we're done here, is there anybody else out there you wanted to like call out for doing really good work, or any other games that you think need more recognition?
Oh, geez, man, that is a. I almost need you to pause the recording for that one because there's man.
Well, I'll do one in the while you're thinking. I got one. It's called Webbed. Have you heard of this?
No.
Simon Carlos like threw this in the end of his amazing newsletter about Game Discovery, and it's like you're a spider, 2D spider. It's a Metroidvania. You're throwing web. You're catching flies, and looks fun.
Okay. I'm literally gonna. I know we're over time limit or whatever.
No, we'll pause.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, like you could edit this crap out. I mean,
yeah. Well, we can edit it. Probably won't, but we can.
I feel like so what I'm doing right now for anybody who gives, can't curse. Sorry.
Oh no, you don't even want to know the story Robert Coffey told. I mean.
Oh no, I did. I forgot. I forgot. He. By the way, you know what? Actually, we totally glossed past this stuff, and I feel bad. So, like, honestly, like. I have a profound respect for Jeff and Robert prior to working at CGW, and I feel like obligated to say this because we kind of raced through everything. But I'm just going to say, just here we go. If you want to mark from this point and copy and paste back, I really have before I worked at CGW, I had such an amazing amount of respect for both of them and how they wrote and what they wrote about. They're just like I always referred to Robert as like a force of nature and it was just he would just deliver these amazing alliterative tirades that would just kind of like that could wither the soul of of the recipient, and it made my darkened heart just feel like awesome. So
the two of them are like honey and vinegar.
Yeah, no, totally.
Jeff is the sweet, but and not to call Rob mean, but he would probably call himself mean.
No. It's like as a former New Yorker, I respected where he came from on just about every stance, and so I totally got where he was coming from.
My big hope is that someday somebody puts Rob on a writing team for a game.
Oh yeah,
he's written movies and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm trying to go back through my. I'm trying to go back through a quick log of games I'm playing right now.
There we go.
Okay, so sorry. So to answer your question about the games that I am really enjoying. Okay, so I can honestly say that Road 96, it was such a great game. So it's a narrative, a procedural narrative adventure game where you're trying to escape a country. And so, or you basically, actually, that's one of the options. Do you want to escape the country? Do you want to help foment revolution? Do you want to just survive? And all the choices you make, you're basically, you're procedurally coming through the game as teens that are runaways or not, or revolutionaries. And you help choose their path, going from one location to the next location to the next location. And you have all these little adventures along the way. And it's kind of Telltale-ish, kind of like, what you see in like A Life is Strange. And the people, it's well written and the characters are real. And it's interesting that like you can go through this multiple branching path times and getting completely different stories.
Interesting.
So as you keep replaying it, you are unlocking more parts of the story of different segmented tales.
Excellent.
So that's just one game that I think like deserves such respect.
There you go. Well, give me one more. I think we'll be done.
Okay. No More Heroes 3 is just weird. Period.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, it's Suda 51.
I mean, come on. That's kind of like that's almost like a gimme. It's like when I talk earlier about like guys who just kind of like lean into what like their creative vision and just kind of going out there. It's that's one of those guys just perpetually doing weird and living in that world. So
almost like a Terry Gilliam or somebody who's just like always pushing their own envelope, not everybody else's.
Yeah. So I don't know if that I was gonna say I'm just gonna stop. I'm just stopping myself there, since if it's just two, I'll be safe.
Okay.
Because there's
all right.
Because I mean, I think I could keep going, because like I literally just like I could just go. I love playing this and that.
Well, give me one more and we'll be done.
Oh, for God's sakes! Okay, Unavowed. Have you played that one?
No, I don't know that one.
So it's a graphic adventure from Wadjet Games.
Wadjet, yeah.
So is that how you pronounce it, Wadjet?
Well, isn't it Wadjet? Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. So those guys. So it's kind of like it kind of weaves together a tale of like it's almost like it's like a paranormal detective group working out of New York, and your choices are actually, and it's one of those things where it's a graphic adventure, going back and forth and navigating and solving puzzles. But even early on, basically, you're selecting who your primary character is going to be and their background, which impacts your answers. And then you're recruiting other people and interacting with them. And it's not your tradition. It's not just like, oh, it's a graphic adventure set in a cool world, blah, blah. It's actually, there's depth to it that you don't see as often, which I think is pretty cool.
Excellent recommendations. That's why I asked, Darren. I knew you knew where all the good stuff was. Thanks for coming on the show.
No, thanks for helping me walk back through memory lane. I love this stuff.
Well, we'll have you on again. So thanks.
Sure.
So thank you very much, Darren Gladstone, for coming in and chatting for a while and giving us a peek into the world and what it was like back in those days and the starts of all these great tech speak. Language is bad sometimes. Don't worry about it. It's not the important thing. The important thing is the Nintendo Direct. The Nintendo Direct that we had so many interesting news stories. We thought we'd cover them now. My personal favorite to start, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Looks beautiful, and I'm probably going to be picking that up as soon as it becomes available. First 3D, like 3D Kirby, which is a full explorable world that looks like it's a overrun jungle from like an ancient city that's overrun by nature now. So nature has taken back the city with birds and plants and skyscrapers.
I wonder how many cues it's going to take from Mario Odyssey, because it sort of gave me those vibes just looking at the trailer.
Yeah, it did a bit like Odyssey vibes, but also kind of it looked similar to the engine that they used for Breath of the Wild as well. And I was just thinking that, well, ancient city, ancient tech, but not that ancient, just ancient Earth or something close enough to it. I'm really excited for it. It brought a lot of happiness back. And then what else is other crazy news? We have more Pokemon Legends Arceus news. Pokemon have been released. New gameplay trailer and everything has been shown. Looks pretty fantastic.
There's a bunch of exciting re-releases. First off, which is already out, is the Castlevania Advance Collection, which is all of the Game Boy Advance Castlevania games, which I just tore through as a kid. So it's very exciting to go back and be able to play those. I might pick them up later when I have a bit more spending money. I'm saving myself for Metroid Dread right now, so
yeah,
that's going to be exciting.
It looks so good. It's going to be. I've never I've never played many Metroid games. I did play like the demo for Metroid Prime, like Hunter's First Hunt on like the DS when it came out, because it came with it, and that was an interesting to control Samus with this stylus while you're in ball form. That was not quite as interesting as I remembered it being. I mean, it was a demo, it wasn't the full game, so.
Probably the biggest content drop is the news that Nintendo is going to be boosting up their online subscription to add expansion passes for N64 games and Genesis games.
It's like, I'm interested, is that going to just be like one subscription for all of them, like one bonus expansion, or like each individual, like, oh, you can pay like $2 to get this expansion, or like $5 to get Genesis.
I think it's just a monthly fee for all of them, according to the plan for now.
That would,
I believe, but the details are gonna come late October, so we don't know for now.
What is exciting is that this is going to be our way to play some pretty big N64 games. Majora's Mask, F-Zero, Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh yeah, like Ocarina of Time, and I think this is also kind of fitting with the with all the N64 games, because now with the Super Mario Party Superstars is bringing back like 4 or 5 classic N64 boards with like over 200 mini games from across the series. So it's fitting that they're doing more ports of old games that we can all enjoy again on our new consoles and the portability of them.
And I believe they not only bringing the old games back, but they also implement online multiplayer on some of the games like Mario Kart 64, which allows you to play the old games online together with your friends. I'm pretty interested in how they implement the internet function into those old games, because they're definitely not built for it.
Yeah, it's going to be like a complete rebuild, I think, just with the stylings of it. I mean, that would make sense of like them having to do that. But I think final really big news, Splatoon 3. If you want to talk about your favorite interest, Chun.
Oh, they released a lot of new news for the game, like new special weapons and some of the story stuff, but I'm not going to talk about it. It's going to take hours to talk about the lore, because they don't really talk about it.
Okay. It's all just future lore.
Yeah,
we'll
but
see.
It looks pretty cool. They got a very cute crab robot, which you can control and shoot inks to your enemy. They got a Spider-Man-like thing, which is a gap closer. And they got a lot of other new stuff, and I'm really excited about it. So I probably will hop on to Splatoon 2 again to get some practice of my aim.
Oh yeah.
And prepare for it for the next year.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And then in final new releases, I think this is going to be a packed segment at the end, but there's a lot to cover. Bayonetta 3 also announced and coming to Nintendo Switch, and we got a little taste of the gameplay there, which looked pretty incredible. It's exciting to see a new Bayonetta game, and it looks very smooth in the stylings of Bayonetta, but it looks like we're gonna get a little bit of high res action with that OLED maybe. But I think we don't have time for any more news. We gotta, thank you for listening to the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment's official podcast. If you have any thoughts, questions, corrections, or general museum ideas, please shoot us an email at info@themade.org.
We'd like to send out a big thank you to everyone who donated recently, and to our Patreon supporters who keep the Made afloat. Patreon donors get to listen to this podcast 1 week before its release on major streaming services, and we'll continue that with future episodes every week. Till then, I'm Chin.
I'm Miles.
I'm Red.
I'm Anthony. Thanks. We'll see you next week.